Tommy Eichenberg, Zach Harrison, Lathan Ransom. They lead a really talented Buckeyes defense that has a tough task of slowing down Michigan's offense this weekend. There's one thing these players must bring with them, along with the other Buckeye defenders, if they want to accomplish this goal Saturday in the shoe.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Wednesday, November 23rd in the year 2022, and this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. During this episode, we will discuss a few wrinkles that I think the Buckeyes need to pull out of their bag to slow down Michigan's offensive attack, and it's time for our weekly stock report. But before we get to any of that, earlier this week, I was on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show live on the YouTube. If you want to catch that clip, go back and check that out on the YouTube page. And I was asked a question by Jay Crawford about Buckeyes, the toughness, and if they will bring the nasty this weekend. Now, that is a phrase that I do believe I would not have normally said, bring the nasty, but I ultimately understand the context, the description, the definition of what that is. It was a question that they brought, and they mentioned Maurice Clarett, former Buckeye running back, and he was discussing this team this year and if they are tough and if they will bring the nasty this weekend. I don't know if they even care to even think about that conversation or if it's something that will come up into the team meetings. But being nasty within the confines of the rules, it's needed this weekend. You have to bring your A game. Later this week, we'll hear a conversation from my guy, Mo Murphy of the Off the Ball Network and the Up in Flames podcast. And he discusses how certain things will or will not matter this weekend in the game against the Wolverines. This game matters so much. It's bigger and it's way more important than any game the Buckeyes have played this year, or way more important than any game any Buckeye has ever played in their life. It's a one-game season. Now, you do know you have a game, at least one game you'll play after this. Will it be a week from now, or will it be a month from now in a bowl game? It's TBD, to be determined. But for the Buckeye defenders, specifically for this show, they need to be nasty, determined, fierce, force everything. Be the ones that force the opposition to do things. Control it. Now, it's kind of hard to control the tempo, but you can control how the opposition imposes their will. That's what I'm looking for. The Buckeyes, if they want to win this game, which I do believe they want to, they must be nasty within the confines of the rules and impose their will on Michigan. No excuses. No questions asked. None of that stuff. These are things that must happen. This is a game where careers are defined, where people can make a name for themselves, a la Chris Olave, his freshman year blocking a punt. You can be remembered for decades and decades and decades because of plays you make in this game. We have seen defenders, Zach Harrison, wreak havoc. Mike Hall, wreak havoc. JT Tuimoloau, wreak havoc. Jack Sawyer, do some phenomenal things behind in the backfield. Tommy Eichenberg, wreak havoc. Steel Chambers scored a week ago. Lathan Ransom blocked the punt with his hand that had a broke thumb. Ronnie Hickman, who also said this will be his final year playing in the shoe. He will be entering the NFL draft at the end of the season. He has done phenomenal things. We have seen a lot of guys do great things on the football field, but you have to do it as a collective unit and impose your will against Michigan. Now, will Blake Corum play? Will Donovan Edwards play? There's a word from an offensive lineman at Michigan that he does not believe Blake Corum will play in this game. Okay, great. That's what he believes. I don't know. In college, they don't have to speak on the injuries. So ultimately, what he says, there might be what he believes. That still might not be true. What he says might be true at that point in time, but it could change later in the week. We don't know. It don't matter who's on the field. It doesn't matter what you think. You have to, if you must, impose your will if you want to have the best shot you want to win this game. It just must happen. No questions asked. For Ronnie Hickman, who I just mentioned that he will, this will be his final year playing at Ohio State. So this will be his final year in the shoe, his final game at Ohio Stadium. There will be 23 players participating in senior day activities at Ohio State this weekend. Some of them are going through them. They can still come back at the end after next season after the year's over. So those are things where I say, well, he participated in senior day. Yeah, but he might have a year of eligibility. Right now, he might say no. Ultimately, he could have come back. Last year, Master Teague participated in senior day festivities, even though he could still come back and play college football this year. He ultimately entered the NFL draft. That was his decision. So those are things that are going to happen. All the hoopla, all the stuff, mom, dad, roses, all the praise you want to get for being a Buckeye playing football and this being your last day in the shoe. Make sure you bring with you when you step in the shoe the desire and the ability and the want to impose your will against the Michigan Wolverines. Because as good as their rushing game is, it's a whole lot different without Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. And if you go back and watch the Illinois game, some people might say Illinois kind of controlled things at times, and Illinois had a great shot, if it wasn't for a penalty late, to beat the Michigan Wolverines a week ago. Impose your will. Bring the nasty. Yeah, some of y'all might want to go outside of the rules to do that. Hey, some people say on the football field, if you don't get caught, go ahead and do it. Hey, I'm not here to say all those things. But what I'm here to say is this: impose your will every play. And that's a great chance and a great way for the Buckeyes to be successful on defense and to ultimately control things so the Buckeyes are victorious at the end of this contest. You know what else is going to be a great way to help the Buckeyes be victorious in this contest? It's changing things up on defense. It's possible. I think it will happen. I know it can happen, and I have a few ideas about how that can happen in this game. But before we get to those wrinkles, I want to tell you about my friends at LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's easy to create and post a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs. Once you do that, add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. This episode is brought to you by Ridiculously Good Salsa. It really is ridiculously good. We let our salsa fans tell our story, and this is what they say about ridiculously good salsa. I eat this salsa by the spoonful. My husband grabs a grocery bag and crushes the high heat. I come to the market just for ridiculously good salsa. It's the perfect tailgate food and my favorite. I just want to drink it. There is a delicious flavor for everyone. Mellow, mild garden goodness, no heat or spice. Happy medium, the sweet spot of salsa, and our most popular flavor. And then there's high heat. For those who like to spice and like spice and flavor, but with a late hit. Just try it. We are a locally family-owned business in Westerville, and we would love to share our salsa with you. Grab some ridiculously good salsa at Whole Foods in Columbus, Cleveland, the Hills Market in Worthington, Wheelands Market, the Butcher and Grocer, Rittberger Market at Buckeye Lake, and the Greater Gouda in Delaware. Or order online at r.goodsalsa.com. That's r.goodsalsa.com. You can also follow them on Instagram at ridiculously good salsa. This weekend is a big weekend. In a couple days, actually tomorrow, is Thanksgiving. We're still planning on having an episode tomorrow on Thanksgiving. We're actually looking to try to get John Garcia Jr. on the show as well to discuss Buckeye recruiting, big weekend of recruiting, a lot of stuff going on. And we're trying to get John to have possibly the most jam-packed week of a recruiting update with John that we've ever had since John has been a regular guest on the show. So make sure you subscribe to Locked on Buckeyes on YouTube and on your podcast listening app, the one of your choosing, to get alerted and updated every time a new show goes live. So I am all about wrinkles. I'm all about trying to find ways to have the upper hand on your opponent. It should be self-explanatory. Should be something that's expected. Some people might not think that way. In a game like this against the Wolverines, when the Buckeyes seem like some say they just got by Maryland, who I think Maryland's a better football team than their record says, 6-5. They came into the game 6-4. I think Maryland's a really good football team. They have pros in the secondary. They got a quarterback who's going to go to the NFL as well. They got pros over there. They've also played other games where it's just like, why is this going on? They haven't really shown the wrinkles that I thought they would show this year, but they have some up their sleeve that I do believe in this game. There are at least two players that I think could be multiple that I think could be thrown into the mix that would throw a wrinkle into what Michigan thinks the Buckeyes will do this weekend on defense. One, there is a tendency, since one person described Jim Harbaugh's offense as a 1982 Stanford offense. Take that for what it's worth, that you're going to come out in heavy sets. Two tight end, maybe tight end and a fullback, maybe heavier sets, maybe put a tackle out there and an eligible receiver, or make a tight end eligible. Maybe not change his number, but just manipulate the formation to where an offensive lineman is eligible to just have a heavier set. Now, the Buckeyes have a tendency to go 4-2-5, occasionally 4-3, occasionally 3-3-5. We've seen more 3-3-5 versus 4-3 this year. But I think this is a week that when you go 4-3, it goes more of a 5-2 look, where you bring in somebody a little beefier, walk them up on the line and say, look, if y'all want to do this, we got to bring some beef in here to do that. And I don't know. It's going to be the personnel of a 4-3. Let's go start there. When I think 5-2, I think of more of a high school, middle school, high school, where you know you're going to be run heavy, or your personnel is not all there where you can pick it. Cade Stover played defense last year in the Rose Bowl. There's a way that the Buckeyes can use him in spot duty on defense this weekend. Got to think outside the box in these types of games so you can win the game. Where when a Buckeye see from up in the press box, up high in the sky, when they see the Wolverines begin a heavy package, how about the Buckeyes heavy package? Be Cade Stover, be a linebacker, but walk him up strong side to combat that. Because I think bringing him in is better than a Sonny Styles as a linebacker here, or better than a Cody Simon, maybe Chip Traynor, but we have not seen Chip Traynor play linebacker all season long. Maybe a mop-up duty, but when it counts, when it matters, he has not been out there. Neither Cade Stover either. We have seen Cade Stover play linebacker at a high level when he quickly transitioned to linebacker literally in the week of the Rose Bowl. That's one wrinkle. Cade Stover on defense. Well, you need to make sure you win a game, not just for ranking sake and spot in the Big Ten Conference Championship and to solidify a spot in the playoff. What do you need to do? Change things up, add a wrinkle. Cade Stover at linebacker, that's a wrinkle. Buckeyes bring out a 4-3 look. It turns into a 5-2. Hey, how often do you see a 5-2 in college football? That's why we're thinking outside of the box here on this show. Ultimately, I do think this could be a game for Sonny Styles to play as well. It's really, some say you don't want to play a true freshman when he's never played in this game. Okay, if he's good enough, play him. That's how I view it. If he's good enough, put him on the field. And Sonny Styles, to me, he played more earlier in the season, hasn't played as much of late. But I do think when you know you're going to get a lot of running, and maybe he could be the guy to spy J.J. McCarthy. I mean, I would rather have a Ronnie Hickman do that or a Lathan Ransom do that. But if you want to have them back and have them more in coverage for specific purposes, bring in Sonny Styles. That's riskier there than it would be to play Kate Stover, but you might need that bigger body. You might need somebody out there to simply just be a spy on J.J. McCarthy. And McCarthy tries to roll and move the ball. He doesn't have the best arm, not the best quarterback in the world, but he is a little shifty. He's not a Talea Tagovailoa or Daquan Finn from Toledo. He's not that caliber of athlete. He's not that guy, but he can move a little bit. We've seen the Buckeyes have issues with keeping contained. We saw it with Northwestern. They did the misdirection, the counteraction, and the quarterback moving a little bit really gave the Buckeyes some issues and some fits in that game. Well, I do think you're going to see some signs of that this weekend. Change things up. This is the time to do it. But ultimately, the one change I want to see, and I do believe it's as realistic as it is for Cade Stover to play linebacker a little bit in this game, something you haven't seen all year. Ultimately, Mike Hall starting at D tackle. You can tell me all you want to. He's been battling injuries, and he's been this, he's been that. Y'all ain't pulling on other players when they've been battling injuries. You just let those guys ride. And I don't know if Mike Hall isn't hurt, is hurt or not. I don't know. But every time he's on the field, I see that young man split double teams. I see that young man get skinny in the gap. I see that young man make plays in the backfield. I see him do that consistently when he's on the field. And in the biggest game of the year, I heard it last year, people saying Mike Hall's going to be a dog. I have seen it with my own eyes this year. Mike Hall's going to be a dog. Well, unleash the beast, let the dog out the cage, and let Mike Hall loose this weekend. This is the time to do it. I think you see Mike Hall, Teron Vincent play the most snaps at D tackle this weekend, and it's going to be scary. Thinking outside the box, doing things you haven't done all year. This is a game to do it. And those are just three ways I think the Buckeyes can think outside of the box on defense to really mess up the Michigan Wolverines offense Saturday in the shoe. Saturday in the shoe is a few days away, but today is that time of the week to go over our stock report. Stock up, stock down. Where will my mind and my pin fall this week? Stick around to find out. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From football to basketball to soccer and esports, we've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to betonline.net today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. At the conclusion of this weekend's game between the Buckeyes and the Wolverines, I will be on two post-game shows. Immediately at the conclusion of the game, I will be on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, live instant reaction to the game. It'll be myself, Mike, nicknamed McNuggets, the producer of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, also G. Bush, and former Buckeye great and national champion Tyvus Powell. We will all be on the show. Four of us together. It'll be our third or fourth time doing a post-game show and be a lot of fun. Hopefully, planning on reacting to a Buckeye win and discussing what happened in that. And then after that, approximately an hour after the end of the game, I will be right here live on the YouTube page for the Locked on Buckeyes postcast. 10-15 minutes reacting to what we witnessed in the shoe over the weekend. My three quick thoughts in regards to what we witnessed, what stood out in the Buckeyes, what I do believe will be a win this Saturday. Let the cat out the bag. Come to Friday's show to hear what I think possibly tomorrow on our crossover to hear what I think the score prediction will be for this game. Stock up, stock down. Not going to keep you very long. but you'll clearly understand my explanation of why I think this way during our weekly stock report. This is easy. Stock up on Dallin Hayden. I mean, this guy, 26 carries in the second half, 146 on the ground, 3 touchdowns, had a carry in the first half, but no yards there. Dallin Hayden, man, true freshman out of Memphis, Tennessee, a guy who I was high on coming out when the Buckeyes recruited him and he committed to Ohio State. I looked at him, saw the film. I said, his body looks college ready, more college ready than most true freshmen. He's put on some muscle. He's playing good football. And I do believe he's moved up the depth chart and moved over Travion Henderson. I don't have coach insight, but that's what my eyeballs tell me, because how do you bench a guy when he's doing that? He's being productive every time he's on the field. Stock up on Dallin Hayden. Stock up on Lathan Ransom. And guys playing through injuries. Tommy Eichenberg. Lathan Ransom blocking a punt with the hand that has a broke thumb on it. Crazy. Tommy Eichenberg playing with 2 broke hands. Crazy. That's the stuff champions are made of. Now, I know we're not there yet. We're getting through one game. One more game to go in the regular season. But ultimately, talk about the nasty and imposing your will. These are 2 guys that are imposing their will while battling and not letting the obstacles get in the way of the Buckeyes and leading the Buckeyes to another win. Stock up on those 2 guys. Stock up on Enoch Vamahi, a player who in the offseason and when I was going over the roster, I struggled trying to pronounce his name. It's slow it down. I didn't slow it down and it just get what? It was hard, buddy. It was hard for me to get that down. Or JT Tuimoloau or DJ Uiagalelei or Mateo Uiagalelei. Well, I probably think I'll have to say Mateo's last name a lot while he's in college. Ultimately, I picked those up quickly. Vamahi, shorter, syllables are more distinct. Sounding it out should be easier. Didn't do it, but when he's been called upon a couple times when Matt Jones goes down due to injury, and Matt Jones went down due to injury once again. Still don't know if he's going to play this weekend against the team up north. Doesn't really matter. Enoch Vamahi stepped up in a big way. I don't know who will step up for Matt Jones if he can't play, but I did discuss some ways that I think they could fill the hole of Matt Jones if he cannot play on Saturday afternoon. Check out yesterday's show to hear my thoughts about that. Stock down 2 things. Secondary tackling. Really secondary defending in one-on-one situations. Talia, another weird name. Tagovailoa, I got that correct most of the time. When he was able to escape the pocket, he was able to find his guys and mark his guys down and make big plays. And while the first line of the secondary has been the biggest concern of the Buckeyes defense, but it continues to be the biggest concern of the Buckeyes defense. It's a luxury that J.J. McCarthy is not near the caliber of quarterback Talia Tagovailoa is. But stock down once again, then ultimately stock down on Travion Henderson. Part of me doesn't believe that he has missed a lot of time this year due to injury. I think that the Buckeyes have been trying to see who the better featured back will be between Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson, because they can do that. Because as we know, 2020, 2019 in the playoff and in big games, the Buckeyes end up leaning on one running back. 2019, J.K. Dobbins, 2,000-yard rushing year that he had. 2020, Trey Sermon, ultimately, I believe, got hurt in the playoff during that year. But you ride those guys. And I've been wondering, has Travion Henderson really been hurt? And I do think he's hurt. I don't think he's hurt enough to hurt to play. Lack of vision, just not being the better quarterback. Someone said he's just not that good. He hasn't been that good to me. The better running back, he hasn't been the best to me at all at Ohio State. And a lot of times he hasn't been good. If he's not breaking a big play, it's a bust a lot. Stock down once again on Travion Henderson. Stock up on Buckeye fans celebrating a phenomenal Thanksgiving holiday. I know I just got excited, but baby, it's Thanksgiving time. Enjoy time with your family and friends. I'm out of here on this day. Thank you for checking this podcast out. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Send all of your emails to jstevens317 at gmail.com. Thanks for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen today. For your next listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. biggest stories in sports, take of the day. Those are all things you can find at the Locked On Sports Today podcast and a whole lot more. Peter Bukowski does a phenomenal job hosting said podcast, and I can't wait till I get to join him for another Buckeye breakdown down the road. In the meantime, out of here on this Wednesday, enjoy your Thanksgiving with your family and friends. Looking to have a John Garcia Jr. recruiting update soon, a crossover with Isaiah Hole of Locked On Wolverines, a final show on Friday already recorded with my guy Mo Murphy of the Off the Ball Network. A lot going on here because it'll be hot in the shoe on Saturday afternoon as the Buckeyes and Wolverines battle it out for bragging rights for the next 364 days.